There's definitely not enough people talking about Venom on the internet. So Venom stars Tom Hardy and Michelle Williams and Riz Ahmed, and it follows Eddie Brock, who is a journalist who happens to bond with the symbiote Venom, and shenanigans ensue. Now, before I start my review, I'm just going to give my relationship with Venom. My three favorite superheroes have always been Spider-Man, Batman, and Wolverine. Probably in that order too, Spider-Man being my favorite. And Venom has always been my favorite Spider-Man villain. And many fans of the character, like myself, were very disappointed to see his character completely ruined in Spider-Man 3. So naturally, I was very much looking forward to seeing the man who played Bane take on another one of my favorite villains. And yeah, this movie was easily in my top 3 most anticipated films that came out all year. So it really hurts me to say that this movie is one of the most disappointing films I've seen all year. Before I start getting hate, this movie's not terrible. It's not the Amazing Spider-Man 2 level bad. This is like somewhere between the Amazing Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3. Yeah, I like Spider-Man 3 more than I like Venom. But I will say Tom Hardy's version of Venom was better than Eric Foreman's version of Venom in Spider-Man 3. I just think the film as a whole is a bit more coherent and better. Alright, so let me start out with the positives. Tom Hardy as Venom works, for me at least. I like the guy as an actor. I feel like he's credible in just about every role he's in. And when you finally get to see Venom take over Eddie Brock, and you get to see the action finally start to go down, it was actually really entertaining for a few seconds. And the design of Venom looks awesome. Like, ever since I saw the trailers, I've liked the way he looks. He just looks cool in this movie. That's just about all the positives I have for it. Now I can get into the negatives. This movie is a scatterbrained mess. From the start, I was like, oh god, the pacing is so bad. Like they just go from point A to point H to point Z. My mind didn't have time to wrap around what was happening, and I didn't have enough time to like care about the characters to give a shit about what they were going through. The movie goes so fast and it tries to force feed all this crap down your throat that you're just bombarded with all this exposition that you just don't give a shit about anything that's happening. All the stuff that involves Michelle Williams, the love interest, I did not care about, and they spent a lot of the movie covering this. And the villain, Riot. I'll be completely honest, out of all the Spider-Man movies I've ever seen, the Amazing Spider-Man movies included, which I don't like, this is the weakest Spider-Man villain we've ever gotten. Now I get it, this isn't a Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man's nowhere near this movie, but still, if I'm gonna like compare it with the other Sony films, because it was all made by Sony, this villain is worse than the Lizard was in The Amazing Spider-Man 1. And the Lizard I thought was like shit, I thought it was god-awful, but Riot in this movie makes the Lizard kind of look like the Joker. No exaggeration, Riot in this movie was so fucking boring. From an emotional standpoint, you don't care about the guy. From a threatening standpoint, he's not scary. And from just a villain standpoint, he's not menacing at all. He's just a stoic, angry businessman who's up to no good, and you know that from the beginning because he's got an attitude, and he'll walk around and talk to you like this. I just did not care about this guy at all. And then you saw it in the trailer, so I'm not spoiling it by saying this. The final battle between Riot and Venom, what was that shit? It was a big clusterfuck of CGI nonsense at nighttime. It's two black creatures made of nothing but CGI fighting with a black background. The whole fucking thing takes place at night. Who thought this was a good idea? Man, I don't know what they were thinking when they made this movie. And one of the biggest gripes I constantly hear is that it was made to be rated R, but they dumbed it down to be rated PG-13. And the only reason they did that was either to somehow fit Spider-Man in it, like the MCU, like, oh, Spider-Man's notorious for being rated PG-13, so we can't have an R-rated film tie-in with that universe. Or they just wanted to get more people in the seats to make more money. The second one's probably more likely it. But we have proven time and time again that rated R superhero movies can be successful and can be good. Kick-Ass, Deadpool, Deadpool 2, Logan. There's 4 really good rated R superhero movies right there. Granted, Watchmen wasn't very successful, but that's a 5th one. I love Watchmen. So, do I think that this movie could have benefited from being rated R? Yeah. It probably could have made the action sequences a bit more exciting, and it probably would have made it feel less inconsistent, because I feel like the reason the movie felt like it was a bunch of jumbled nonsense was because there were scenes that were taken out of the movie to avoid that rated R rating, because there was like 30 minutes worth of stuff taken out of this movie. So I can't judge the movie based on what I think it could have been. I'm judging it based on what I saw. What I saw was just nonsense and disappointment. Now, I'll go back and say, yes, I like the way Venom looks. I like the dynamic between Venom and Eddie. Anytime they were talking, that was interesting. There's one scene in the movie involving an elevator where Venom says the word pussy. It had me laughing pretty hard. But then there was this other scene with Eddie Brock and Venom involving a restaurant and a lobster tank. It felt so out of place. It went on for way too long and it just wasn't funny. Like, no one in the theater was laughing and it was just awkward. So yeah, this sucks. I hate saying that I was so disappointed by Venom, but I was. This movie just wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. After seeing that last trailer, I kind of thought the movie was going to be complete shit. So it's not as bad as I expected it to be, but it's still not as good as I wanted it to be. Guys, I'm sorry. Venom, it's not the worst movie I've seen all year, but it's definitely the most disappointing. With some cool little visual things and a good dynamic between Eddie Brock and Venom and some entertaining action sequences, I can bump the rating up a bit, but in the end, I say that Venom, I'm just going to give it a C-. It could have been so much better. I mean, add Spider-Man to it. That would have made it so much better. But, you know, after seeing this, I would love to see Tom Hardy Venom go against Tom Holland Spider-Man. I think that would be some entertaining shit. I like the character, but I just don't like this movie. So yes, that's my review on Venom. I will be making a review on A Star Is Born shortly after that, and hopefully my review of the new Halloween will be up soon too. So I don't know how to end this video.